A few weeks ago, I visited a country that if you had asked me a few years ago, or even a couple of months ago, I probably would have said that I would never visit. But I promised an old pen pal, who has become one of my best friends, that I'd visit, with no real intentions of keeping that promise at the time, because most pen pals you make, you'll stop talking after a few weeks or months. But in February 2022, I hopped on a plane and made my way to Colombia. Before I left, I checked the travel advisory for Colombia. It was listed at level 4, saying, "Do not travel to Colombia due to COVID-19, reconsider travel to Colombia due to crime, exercise increased caution in Colombia due to civil unrest, terrorism, and kidnapping. Some areas have increased risk. Read the entire travel advisory." So I did what any good American would do after reading that. I ignored what it said and I went anyway. My mother was thrilled when I told her. The journey there was pretty fun. Walking the length of LAX took a long time, and landing in Panama City for my connecting flight was very uncomfortable. It was so hot. The second I got off the plane, I was hit by like a wall of humidity. Keep in mind, where I live, it's still snowing, and my dumbass brought along my normal winter attire of flannel shirts and jeans and a couple of jackets. And I got on my connecting flight and was officially soaring over the beautiful country of Colombia on my way to land in Medellin. Medellin was a city I was pretty unfamiliar with. Colombia as a country was one I knew almost nothing about outside of shows and movies like Narcos. But being in Medellin and meeting and talking with the people that live there, I was shocked how insanely nice and welcoming everybody was. There was just this amazing, super positive atmosphere that felt so strange compared to the rather sullen and depressing atmosphere I surround myself with back home. What can I say? When you work retail for a living and can barely afford to go to college, the dark sense of humor just fits. Also, the currency exchange was so nice. I was there just under 2 weeks and spent less than $300, 300 US dollars, not including the hotel and flight though. So because I am quite stupid, I didn't make much of an itinerary before going, so my first night in Medellin was spent looking up stuff to do. I made a nice list of museums and other tourist attractions, and over the course of the next couple of weeks, I did them all. Well, most of them. I really wanted to ride the metro cable, but that was closed. And I have to mention the day that I spent in Guatapé. This place is insanely beautiful, and there's this big tourist spot, this giant rock. They can actually take some stairs to the very top, and I actually did it.
This is awful. Holy shit. Oh fuck. Oh god.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad at all. Had no issues getting up there. I'm like the perfect embodiment of health. And when you finally reach the top, it is so worth it. But then came the fun climb back down. After getting my cardio in for the next month, we headed into the small town nearby, and this place was so colorful, and I couldn't believe I was there. I felt that way for a majority of the trip, just in awe of how great everything and everyone was. A couple of days later, we took a trip to Santa Fe de Antioquia. Santa Fe is famous for being an extremely well-preserved colonial-era town, and having this bridge that was engineered by Jose Maria Villa, who later went on to help build the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, the most memorable part of this particular day was how insanely hot it was. Walking through the town and down to the bridge was so hot. Where normally I'd be too self-conscious to use my broken Spanish to order anything like a drink from a store, I did it in Santa Fe. I promise I'm not exaggerating that it was probably one of the hottest days I've ever experienced. Not since spending June in Japan have I felt so miserable from the heat. After Santa Fe, I visited a few more museums, and I started getting over my weird phobia of ordering food when I was alone. And on my last day in Colombia, I did the Comuna 13 tour. Normally when I travel, I'll just show up and explore the place myself, but I thought having a tour guide that could talk about the history of the area could be a neat idea, and I'm happy to say that it was great. That tour is easily one of the best things that I did. The tour guide was amazing, and the history he told us of the area was really interesting. It's also extremely impressive to see how that area has completely transformed over the last 20 years. And while on the tour, there was a lot of really awesome street performances that were really impressive. And I almost forgot to mention, but the food was so good. I forgot the name of this traditional Colombian food I tried out in Guatape, but oh my god, I've thought about that food every single day since I left. It was so good. Now, my last few hours in Colombia were easily the worst, and that's when I had to go to the airport. My flight was at 1 p.m. and I left the hotel at 8 a.m. super early. I needed to get the COVID antigen test to re-enter the United States. Well, I get to the airport and it takes me a solid 30 minutes wandering around before I find the COVID testing site. Then when I paid for my test, which was 95,000 Colombian pesos, I didn't get my change back when I paid them 100,000 Colombian pesos. The guy told me they didn't give out change. That seemed a bit sus to me, but whatever. Now, I still have over 2 hours before my flight. I just need to go to the Copa Airlines counter to get my boarding pass. By the time I got my boarding pass and got through security, by the way, when I was standing in line at security, this lady had a dog with her, and the dog pissed right there on the floor, and no one did a thing about it. Not security, not the lady who saw her dog pee, nobody. I had to cautiously step around the puddle of pee when I was trying to unload the electronics from my backpack. Anyway, by the time that was all done, my flight was already boarding. It took almost 3 hours to get my boarding pass and get through security. I've never experienced that kind of wait before when I've traveled, and to put the cherry on top, I paid extra to choose a window seat, and surprise, someone took my window seat and I was forced to sit in the middle. Thankfully it was a short flight back to Panama for my connecting flight to LA. From there the trip went smoothly until I arrived back in LA with a 16-hour layover until my next flight would take me home, and it arrived around midnight. I planned to just chill in the airport, but someone on the staff at the airport told me that part of the airport that I planned on waiting in was going to be closed for construction during the night. So I booked a nearby hotel and an Uber to take me there. Remember when I said that I spent less than $300 for my entire trip to Colombia? Well, I spent more than that in my short stay in LA. The hotel was over $200 for the night, and what really made me feel robbed was the Uber ride to the hotel was $67 for a 5-minute car ride. Keep in mind, I'm from a really small town. I've almost never used public transportation in my life, and I had no idea that there was a free shuttle, or that if I went to a different terminal, that's where the economy taxis and Ubers were. Oh well, I guess I learned my lesson. But that's the end of my rant about all that, and to finish up, I think Colombia is an absolutely amazing country with amazing people and amazing food. I'd love to go back one day and visit more of the country, and it's opened my mind about visiting more of South America, something I never thought I would be interested in doing before. So if you ever get the opportunity to go visit Colombia, I would definitely recommend it. It's definitely worth your time.